ever feel like your Wi-Fi's on the fritz? Like if someone's just using the microwave?
Oh, tell me about it.
Now imagine needing that connection hundreds of miles from the nearest city. Scorching heat, dust storms, you name it.
Yeah, the works.
That's everyday life for some.
It is.
And that's where our deep dive begins.
All right, let's do it.
We're jumping headfirst into the world of remote communications, Aussie style.
And it's not just about getting a signal out there. It's about building systems tough enough to handle the outback, without needing constant maintenance.
Right. We're not talking quick trip to the Genius Bar, something goes wrong.
Nope.
We've got a stack of fascinating material from an Australian engineer named Matt, the brains behind a company called Distant Curve.
Oh, okay.
He's tackled this head on, and trust me, his insights are pure gold. Even if you're not a tech whiz, we're talking about articles he's written, glimpses into his company's website, even presentations where his passion practically leaps through the screen.
I love that. So what's he saying?
Well, he's developed this framework for what he calls remote resilience.
Remote resilience.
And it's fascinating stuff. He's identified 8 key pillars that go way beyond just choosing the right hardware.
Okay.
It's a whole design philosophy.
Interesting.
Okay. So first things first, why is this whole remote resilience thing such a big deal?
Yeah.
What makes it different from, say, making sure my Wi-Fi router at home is working?
Well, imagine this. A single on-site visit to fix a remote system in the Australian outback
Okay.
can cost upwards of $10,000. We're talking rugged terrain, vast distances, specialized equipment. It's not your average IT house call.
$10,000.
Yeah.
Ouch. I suddenly feel a lot better about my internet bill.
Right. So for Matt and his team, it's not just about fixing things. It's about building things that simply don't break.
Wow.
Or at least can handle hiccups on their own.
Okay.
That's where those 8 design pillars come in. They cover everything from power management to anticipating environmental factors, even security considerations.
So it's like he's playing chess, thinking several moves ahead to avoid those budget-busting on-site visits.
Exactly. And one of the most intriguing pillars, at least to me, is this idea of situational awareness. It's about knowing what's happening with your system remotely, almost like it has a sixth sense.
Okay, now that sounds seriously cool. It's like the system is sending you a postcard from the outback saying, hey, everything's good here, but maybe send a fan because it's dusty.
That's a great way to put it. And to achieve this level of awareness, Matt's developed a custom-built system called CurveIQ. It's essentially the brain behind every remote setup.
So we're not just talking about a really fancy antenna on the roof. CurveIQ is what makes all of this remote magic possible.
Precisely. It handles everything from battery management to system diagnostics. Think of it as a miniaturized team of engineers constantly monitoring and adjusting things to keep the connection humming.
Wow.
Even in the harshest environments.
All right, color me intrigued. What are some things this miniaturized team can do that a bunch of humans huddled around a monitor couldn't?
One of the key things is proactive power management. Out in the remote outback, you're often relying on solar or wind power, which can be unpredictable. CurveIQ constantly monitors power levels, adjusting charging cycles and even reducing power consumption to certain components when needed. This not only extends the life of the batteries, but ensures continuous operation even when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing.
That's some seriously smart energy saving, and here I am feeling smug about remembering to unplug my phone charger.
It's a whole other level, and it highlights another key pillar, autonomy.
Okay.
CurveIQ isn't just reacting to problems, it's anticipating them.
Wow.
It can detect things like a fan motor starting to wear down or a cable connection becoming loose.
Wow.
And it can actually trigger pre-programmed solutions.
So wait a minute. This thing is making decisions on its own. Out there in the middle of nowhere?
Well, decisions might be pushing it a bit. It's more like it's following a very sophisticated set of rules that Matt has programmed based on years of experience.
Okay.
CurveIQ is constantly analyzing data from sensors, comparing it to these preset parameters, and then triggering the appropriate response.
That's both incredibly cool and slightly unnerving. Like, what happens when it encounters something it hasn't seen before?
That's where the human-in-the-loop aspect comes in.
Okay.
CurveIQ is designed to handle the vast majority of issues autonomously, but it also knows when to raise a flag and send an alert to Matt's team. It's about finding that sweet spot between automation and human oversight.
Okay, so it's not going full HAL 9000 on us just yet.
Not yet.
But it sounds like this level of autonomy is key to making these systems truly resilient, especially when those truck rolls are so costly.
Absolutely. It's all about minimizing downtime and keeping those connections alive, even in the face of unexpected challenges.
This CurveIQ is sounding more and more like a game changer with every detail you share.
It's pretty cool.
But let's rewind for a second and talk about how this incredible system came to be. Did Matt just magically pull CurveIQ out of thin air, or was there an evolution behind it?
It's actually a fascinating journey of iteration and refinement. The first iteration of CurveIQ, while functional, was incredibly complex. It involved a lot of proprietary hardware and software, which made it difficult to maintain and adapt.
It sounds like the first draft of a novel where the author keeps throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks.
That's a great analogy. And just like a good author revises and streamlines their work, that's exactly what Matt did with CurveIQ. He realized that embracing simplicity and open source principles was crucial for long-term sustainability.
Okay, hold up. Open source.
Yeah,
In the world of industrial tech, that seems almost counterintuitive.
you'd think so, right? But Matt recognized that by opening up certain aspects of CurveIQ's design and code, he could tap into a global community of developers and engineers. This not only brings fresh perspectives and ideas, but also ensures that the system isn't reliant on any one company or individual. It's a true testament to the power of collaboration.
So CurveIQ went from a one-man show to a global open source project.
It did.
That's quite a transformation.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
And that shift to open source has had a ripple effect on the entire design philosophy. CurveIQ is now incredibly modular, meaning it can be easily adapted and customized for different applications. You can swap out components, add new features, and tailor it to specific needs without having to reinvent the wheel. So it's like those building block toys we had as kids, but instead of creating a castle, you're building a communication network for the outback. You got it. And this modularity is key to another one of Matt's design pillars, adaptability. He recognizes that the world of technology is constantly evolving, and a system that can't keep up is doomed to obsolescence.
Makes sense. If you're going to go through all this effort to beat something that can withstand the harsh realities of the outback, you don't want it to be outdated a year later. Exactly. And that commitment to adaptability isn't just about keeping pace with the latest gadgets. It's about being able to respond to unforeseen challenges. Remember how we talked about those unpredictable environmental factors?
Right.
Well, with CurveIQ's modular design, you can easily swap out components or add new ones to deal with, say, extreme dust storms or even curious wildlife.
Wait, did you say curious wildlife?
Mm-hmm.
As in kangaroos chewing on the cables?
You wouldn't believe some of the stories. But that's the reality of working in these environments, and that's why this adaptability is so crucial. You need a system that can roll with the punches, literally.
Okay, so we've got a system that's smart, adaptable, and even a little bit charming with its wildlife encounters.
Yeah.
But what about the actual brains of the operation? How does this thing actually work?
Now we're getting to the good stuff. Let's dive into the technology behind CurveIQ and see what makes it tick.
Perfect. Because now I'm dying to know what kind of hardware and software wizardry is powering this Outback orchestra.
Imagine a network of 9 interconnected devices.
9.
Yeah, each like a specialized sensor, strategically placed around a remote site.
Okay.
These aren't your average thermometers, though.
Okay, I'm picturing something a bit more robust than what I've got taped to my window.
Yeah.
What kind of data are we talking about here?
We're talking about high-precision readings for battery, voltage and current, temperature, humidity, signal strength, you name it. It's all about painting a comprehensive picture of what's happening at the site in real time.
So it's like having a team of invisible technicians constantly taking readings and jotting them down, but instead of clipboards, it's all digital.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting. Matt's developed these sophisticated algorithms, essentially a set of rules that dictate how the system responds to this data. It's not just collecting information, it's analyzing it, looking for patterns, and making adjustments to optimize performance and prevent problems.
Okay, so how much autonomy are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Is CurveIQ literally making life or death decisions out there in the wilderness?
Well, maybe not life or death,
Okay.
but definitely decisions that can make or break a connection.
Right.
For example, it can detect when a battery is nearing the end of its life and proactively adjust charging patterns to squeeze out every last drop of juice. Or if it senses a fan is about to fail, it can automatically switch to a backup system, preventing a complete outage.
So it's like having a built-in insurance policy against those dreaded truck rolls.
It is.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room for a second. Security.
Yeah.
These systems are controlling vital communication links. How do we know they're safe from hackers or malicious actors?
That's where Matt's defense in-depth approach comes in. He's not relying on just one security measure, but multiple layers of protection.
Okay, walk me through it. What kind of layers are we talking about? Because I'm picturing something out of a Mission Impossible movie.
Well, first off, CurveIQ uses something called certificate-based authentication for all its communications. Think of it like a digital ID card that verifies the identity of every device on the network.
So no sneaking in through the back door with a stolen password.
Not a chance.
Okay.
On top of that, he's implemented something called WireGuard.
WireGuard. Sounds intense.
It's a super efficient VPN, a virtual private network. Basically, it creates an encrypted tunnel for all the data being transmitted, so even if someone manages to intercept the signal, all they'll see is gibberish without the decryption key.
Okay, so we've got Fort Knox levels of security protecting these systems.
You.
But what about those situations where you actually need to access them remotely, like for maintenance or updates? Is that even possible with all these safeguards in place?
Absolutely. And this is one of the areas where Matt's real genius shines through. CurveIQ can be accessed and managed remotely, but only through a secure, authenticated connection. It's like having a secret back door that only the authorized personnel know about.
Okay, I'm starting to get a sense of why this whole remote resilience thing is so much more than just slapping a satellite dish on a pole.
Right.
But let's bring it back down to earth for a second.
Yeah.
What's it actually like to use this thing?
Yeah.
I'm picturing Matt and his team huddled around blinking lights and lines of code in a darkened room.
You might be surprised to hear that CurveIQ is actually incredibly user-friendly. Remember how we talked about Matt embracing open source principles?
Yeah, the whole collaboration over competition thing.
Exactly. Well, that extends to the user interface as well. He's integrated CurveIQ with a platform you might not expect, Home Assistant.
Hold on, Home Assistant. As in the home automation system people use to control their lights and thermostats.
The one and only.
Wow.
Now, I know what you're thinking. What does home automation have to do with remote telecommunications infrastructure?
You read my mind.
Well, Matt's essentially bridged the gap between these two worlds. Home Assistant is all about creating a centralized hub for controlling various devices and systems.
Right.
And Matt's basically extended that concept to include his remote communication setups.
So instead of controlling your thermostat, you're controlling a microwave repeater station in the middle of the outback.
You got it. But here's the real beauty of it. By integrating with Home Assistant, CurveIQ inherits all the user-friendliness and intuitive design of that platform.
Okay, paint me a picture. What does this look like in action?
Imagine this. You're sitting at your desk, sipping your coffee, when suddenly you get an alert that there's an issue with one of your remote sites.
Sounds like my Monday morning.
Right. But instead of having to decipher cryptic error messages and dig through pages of technical logs, you get a clear, concise notification on your phone or computer, something like, battery at site alpha is running low, or fan at site beta has stopped working.
So it's like getting a text message from your remote equipment. Hey, just letting you know I'm running a little low on power here. No biggie, but maybe send a recharge my way when you get a chance.
Exactly. It's all about making the information accessible and actionable even for those who aren't fluent in tech jargon.
That's a game changer, especially when you're dealing with time-sensitive issues in remote locations.
Absolutely. But it's not just about making the information easier to understand. It's also about making the system easier to manage.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of management capabilities are we talking about here? Because so far, it sounds like CurveIQ is pretty self-sufficient.
Well, for starters, you can view the status of all your remote sites at a glance. Battery levels, signal strength, even environmental conditions like temperature and humidity. It's all laid out in a clean, intuitive dashboard.
So it's like having a control center for your entire network, but instead of a wall of monitors, it's all neatly organized on your screen.
Precisely. You can see instantly if there are any issues that need attention.
Wow.
And you can drill down into specific sites or devices to get more detailed information.
This is way beyond anything I could have imagined. It's like CurveIQ has taken the complexity out of managing remote communications and replaced it with, dare I say it, elegance.
That's a great way to put it. And it gets even better. Remember how we talked about CurveIQ's ability to control those electromechanical relays? The ones that can physically turn devices on and off remotely?
Yeah, the whole, no more sending someone on a 4-day trek just to flip a switch thing.
Exactly. Well, guess what? You can control those remotely through the Home Assistant interface as well.
Seriously. So I could literally reboot a radio tower in the outback from my couch.
You got it. Need to power cycle a piece of equipment, adjust the angle of a solar panel, Maybe even turn on a light to scare away a curious kangaroo. It can all be done with a few clicks of your mouse.
Okay, that's officially the coolest thing I've heard all week. It's amazing to think that a platform designed for controlling your smart home could be so seamlessly adapted to manage industrial-grade telecommunications equipment in some of the most remote and challenging environments on Earth.
It really speaks to the power of open source and the ingenuity of people like Matt who are willing to think outside the box and push the boundaries of what's possible.
It's giving me a whole new appreciation for the unseen world of technology that keeps us connected.
It is amazing.
But speaking of pushing boundaries, I have a feeling Matt wasn't content with just revolutionizing remote management. What other tricks does CurveIQ have up its sleeve?
You know, Matt, he's always thinking a few steps ahead.
Right.
Remember how we talked about CurveIQ's ability to gather all that data from those sensors? Well, he realized that this data has value far beyond just keeping the communication systems running smoothly.
Okay, you're telling me my internet connection is sitting on a gold mine of data.
It is.
What kind of data are we talking about?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
CurveIQ is constantly monitoring things like battery performance, environmental conditions, even equipment usage patterns.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
This data could be incredibly valuable for all sorts of applications.
Exactly, and that's precisely what Matt's exploring.
Yeah.
He's started experimenting with using machine learning algorithms to analyze this data and extract meaningful insights.
Machine learning, as in artificial intelligence. Are you saying my internet connection is about to become self-aware?
Not quite self-aware,
Okay.
but definitely smarter. This is where things get really exciting. By applying machine learning to the data CurveIQ collects, we can start to do some pretty incredible things.
Like what? Give me the good stuff.
Well, for starters, we can use it to predict equipment failures before they happen.
Wow.
Imagine being able to proactively replace a faulty power supply or a failing fan before it even causes an outage.
Talk about putting an end to those truck rolls. But seriously, that's huge, especially in these remote locations where every minute of downtime can have a real impact.
Exactly, but it goes even further than that. We can also use this data to optimize energy usage, reduce costs, even improve the overall design of future systems.
So my internet connection isn't just keeping me connected. It's also helping to build a better, more sustainable future for remote telecommunications.
You've got it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. As we gather more data and refine these machine learning algorithms, the possibilities are practically limitless.
This is blowing my mind. I knew technology was advancing rapidly, but this is next level.
It is truly remarkable, and it highlights something crucial about innovation in any field. It's not just about inventing new things. It's about finding creative ways to use what we already have.
And sometimes, the most groundbreaking solutions come from combining seemingly unrelated technologies and ideas,
They do.
like home automation and remote telecommunications.
Absolutely. Who would have thought that a platform designed for controlling your smart lights could end up revolutionizing how we build and manage critical infrastructure in some of the most challenging environments on Earth?
It makes you wonder what other unexpected connections are out there, just waiting to be discovered. What other problems can we solve if we just start looking at things a little differently?
That's the beauty of it all. There's always more to learn, more to explore, more to create.
You know, diving into the world of CurveIQ with you has been like eye-opening.
Yeah,
It's incredible what Matt's been able to achieve.
it is.
It's like he took a hard look at the challenges of remote communications and said, challenge accepted.
He did. He really did. It really highlights the power of resourceful engineering, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about brute forcing your way through a problem,
Right.
but understanding the nuances and finding elegant solutions.
Absolutely. He didn't just invent a new gadget. He rethought the entire approach.
He did.
And those 8 design pillars we touched on,
Yeah.
those are like his guiding principles, right?
Exactly. It's a holistic approach.
Right.
Take that idea of situational awareness we talked about earlier.
Right.
It's not just about having sensors. It's about using that data to make informed decisions.
Right.
Anticipate problems before they even arise. That's what sets Matt's work apart.
It's like he built a system that's not just reacting, but actually thinking ahead, which is mind-blowing when you consider the environments we're talking about.
It is pretty incredible, and that kind of forward thinking is evident in everything from CurveIQ's power management to its security features.
Right.
It's about building systems that are inherently resilient because they're designed with the bigger picture in mind.
Which brings us to a point I found particularly fascinating, this idea of adaptability. It's not just about keeping up with the latest tech trends. It's about anticipating the unexpected.
Right. And CurveIQ's modular design is a perfect example of that.
Right.
It allows for customization and evolution.
Right.
If a new challenge pops up, say, extreme weather conditions, or even those curious critters you mentioned,
Right.
you can adapt the system without starting from scratch.
And that adaptability extends to the human element, too.
It does.
Integrating with a platform like Home Assistant makes the technology accessible to a wider range of users, not just tech specialists.
Exactly. That's a crucial aspect of sustainable innovation, making sure the technology is usable and maintainable by the people who rely on it. Matt clearly understands that true resilience is about more than just robust hardware and clever software.
It's about building systems that can grow and evolve alongside the communities they serve.
It is.
Speaking of which, when we zoom out from the technical details,
Yeah.
what does all of this mean in the grand scheme of things?
It points towards a future where connectivity is no longer limited by geography or circumstance.
Right.
Imagine remote communities having the same access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities as those in urban centers.
It's really exciting to think about the possibilities.
Yeah.
But it's not just about remote communities, is it?
Yeah.
These ideas of resilience, adaptability, and user-centric design,
Yeah.
they have implications for just about every aspect of our increasingly tech-dependent world.
Absolutely. Imagine applying these principles to other critical infrastructure,
Yeah.
power grids, transportation systems, even emergency response networks. The potential for creating a more robust and sustainable future is enormous.
It's a lot to process,
It is.
but incredibly inspiring.
Yeah, it really is.
So for our listeners out there who are feeling that spark of inspiration,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway from our deep dive into Matt's world?
I think the biggest lesson here is the power of creative problem solving.
Yeah,
Matt didn't just follow the rule book.
right.
He questioned assumptions, embraced collaboration, and ultimately carved his own path.
And in doing so, he's not only transformed how we think about remote communications, but he's given us a glimpse into a future where technology is more responsive, resilient, and adaptable to the needs of both people and the planet.
Well said. It's a reminder that sometimes the most groundbreaking innovations come from those who dare to ask, what if?
And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. What seemingly impossible challenges in your own world might benefit from a little bush ingenuity and a touch of CurveIQ magic. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.